This is part 7 of my video series of how to increase your CPAP compliance and be successful on CPAP. The more people understand about the entire process or about their disease, the more invested they are in fixing it or getting better or understanding it. And so that's what this entire video is for. Now, first, an introduction. My name is Jason. I'm a registered polysomnographic technologist. Now, many of you already know me from my YouTube series. I try to bring you information that you need, and I try to do it in a fun way. This video is not going to be that. I'm going to try to get right to the point on all of these. We might have a little fun, but not too much. So I look at this as you guys are my extended family. I want you guys to get better. And if you have questions, go ahead and ask them in the comment section down below. One more point that I need to bring up is this video is sponsored by me. Amazon purchases are at an all-time high, so please consider using my Amazon affiliate link down in the description box below.
Are you not using the affiliate link? You make Boof McTavish pause on drinking his mocha latte capilata papa?
You can use my Amazon affiliate link for anything. Just know that whatever you buy, anything at all, I earn on all qualified purchases.
Boof is tired of being boofed out!
Wow, that's a great price!
Boof McTavish always uses the affiliate link.
This is part 7 of my video series on how to be successful with CPAP and PAP therapy. Now, often a term you'll hear associated with this is compliance. You're out of compliance, your compliance isn't good enough. I actually hate that term because compliance means you're somehow beholden to someone else's authority. And I really actually hate the way that sounds, because this is benefiting just you and you alone, and you're not really accountable to anyone else. With the exception of if your insurance is paying for it and that's part of the contract, is you have to meet compliance or they yank the machine back. So keep that in mind. It's a deal you made. So this is really about accountability. And what can you do to get success out of this? One is education. So you're doing a great job watching these videos. I've hundreds of videos on YouTube about how to solve very specific problems or information about very specific topics. So go ahead and peruse my channel for all those videos, but in general, you're already doing the right thing. So one of the first things that I would recommend is that you find basically a CPAP therapy personal trainer. It's someone that's going to hold you accountable to wearing it every night or wearing it as much as possible. Oftentimes, the people that supply the equipment, they don't do a great job of following up with you and making sure you're wearing it. Every now and then they do, but usually it's like within that first 30 days, that's really all they care about. It's like the 30-day, 90-day, and then they're done with you. But oftentimes people will quit within this time. So what can you do to help yourself not quit is get someone that is going to be accountable with you. The one thing I would do is I'd actually join a CPAP forum. And the reason I do that is it's a community specific to it. It's people who have been through it before. They know most of the ins and outs and they know how to solve certain problems. But it's a community of people that are in the exact same boat as you. And somehow that's a lot comforting, because sometimes you feel very isolated. You feel like you're the only one that has sleep apnea. And that is by far away, that is not the case. I have sleep apnea myself. I use a CPAP machine. People that you'd see in normal everyday life, you think, no way do they have it. A lot of them do. So just know that you're not alone. That's the first thing. So I join a forum. I have one that's called freecpapadvice.com/forum, but there's also another good one that I like called Apnea Board. There's also another one called CPAP Talk. Any of those are gonna be great. They all have very different personalities to them. Some are like the Wild West, some are like a little uptight, some are kind of in the middle. So find one that works best for your personality, get in there, start posting, and just find that you're kind of accountable. You feel like you need to check in every now and then and make sure you're still using your CPAP device for finding that optimal level of therapy and treatment and get the best out of it, the most out of it to improve your quality of life. That's what this is all about. But right now I'm also going to show you how to use Oscar. It is that free program I've been telling you about. It's extremely easy to use and you can figure out a lot of stuff just by looking at your own personal data through Oscar. So what is Oscar? Where do you find it? How do you use it? I'll try to answer all those as quickly as I can. So first, to find it, you need to go to sleepfiles.com. I'm sure the guys that work hard on this project wouldn't mind you donating a couple bucks to them. You can go and do that here, but then you want to click this Oscar download page. Now, Oscar stands for the Open Source CPAP Analysis Reporter. So it does exactly what it says, and it reports on the data that your CPAP machine collects. So I have a Mac, so I selected this one. The installation process is extremely easy. It takes a couple minutes. You may have to tweak some of your security settings, but after you do that, you have it up and running in no time. Okay, now you want to find this icon right here, double click on it, and it opens up Oscar. So the first thing you're going to need to do is import some of your data. So they have all these tabs all over the place that are pretty much the same thing. Profile, daily, overview, statistics, profile, statistics, daily overview, oximetry, importer, oximetry, daily view, overview. They're all the same things in 3 different spots. So whatever catches your eye. These pictures here, these icons show you exactly what's in there. But first we need to bring some data in. So we select import. Now you may, the first time you do this, have to point it to a certain location, but once it's in there, it identifies it every time you put it in. That's how fast it imports the data. Now we want to look at some of these tabs and what they do. So the statistics tab, to be quite honest with you, I really don't use it that much. It's really not all that important. The only time I do use it, see my data here is all over the place. I delete my cards constantly, but in general, you can look at it for the prescription changes. It's really helpful in seeing when the prescription was changed and at what pressure it was changed to, whether EPR was used or not. The rest of this data is like actually really generic, and I don't really find it helpful. So next, the overview tab, again, really not that helpful. It just shows you what pressure everything was at. This is like a snapshot of the entire night. What we want is a movie. We want to see what's going on every breath. That's really important to me. But this is nice for seeing things such as how long the machine was used. So I knew I wanted to do a quick demo of Oscar, so I didn't delete the card. This is me using the new N30 mask, and you can see I'm having a hard time with it here, keeping it on. And I didn't want to wear it for a couple days because, yeah, you'll find out later. But last night I actually had a pretty decent session with it. So we'll go ahead and use that as something to look at. So now when you go into the daily tab, you actually get this calendar. The calendar is really cool in that you can go back and you can see all the days of usage. So in April, you can see these blue dates are me using the mask. So all those dates are going to have data on them. If it's black, you're not going to have anything. It wasn't used. So let's go ahead and go to last night. In this daily overview tab, there's a lot of information in here that's really helpful. First of all, you have this breakdown. It's like a pie chart. So anything in this blue color, the light blue, is considered an obstructive apnea. Anything in this purple color, they're calling a clear airway. And anything in this deep blue color, they're calling a hypopnea. So I have one of each of those, which is kind of why I'm picking this day. You can go in and click up on the event if you want, or you can left click and drag across it, and it'll highlight the area. We'll go back and talk about these later. But I can left click and it'll zoom in. I can right click and it'll zoom out, or I can push up and it'll zoom in, or down and it'll zoom out. Let's go ahead and look at some of these channels and see which ones are important and which ones aren't. So the flow rate here is really important to me. This top one, this is a breath by breath. You can scroll and see every single breath you took that night, and you can see it time stamped with when you took that breath. The mass pressure is also fairly important. It lets me know that was the pressure, mine set at 8, is it actually being met? And you can see how it's fluctuating throughout the night based on my breathing, trying to keep it a static pressure. The leak rate is also extremely important. So here's a good example of this. I can see that my mouth or something probably popped open to cause this little spike in air. And also you can see how it affects the mass pressure. This is just the pressure, what it's actually trying to achieve, so really not important because I already know what that is. Snore, not real important. Flow limitation, not real important. Respiratory rate, tidal volume, minute ventilation, inspiratory time, none of that's really important. The only reason tidal volume may be of interest to someone is if they have hypoventilation syndrome. Other than that, it's really not all that useful. It's a little too deep into the weeds. Okay, so let's do a quick look at these events, and I can kind of walk you through them. One is you can see this leak rate throughout the night, how it's just going up. I'm having a hard time with leaks with this mask, and it's not the mask so much as it's my mouth popping open. So I took some measures this night to try to fix it, and it didn't really look like it went that well. I'm suddenly becoming a mouth breather with the allergy season, so I'm having to battle that. Anyway, let's take a look at this obstructive apnea. Or actually, let's take a look at this open area and see. This is more or less what your breathing should look like. Pretty uniform throughout the night. You may see some extra, little spikes in there, but we're looking basically for a flat line on top here, more or less. Now what happens when you get to these things marked obstructive apnea? Well, we can see right here that what led up to the obstructive apnea, I would actually take these out. And the reason being is, one, I can see the leak rate is increasing right here prior to it. So I probably had a mouth leak. Looks like it woke me up because it got real choppy here. And then this is probably me just moving around. So these two events that they're calling obstructive apneas really aren't obstructive apneas at all. I'm likely not even asleep. I'm just resettling during these times. Let's go ahead and look at these hypopneas. So this is actually kind of more of the same thing. There's no big decrease here. There's no big decrease leading up to the arousal, and the hypopnea would never come after the arousal. It's going to be coming before. So, whatever this is before, but it's nothing, or you'd see it decrease slowly, and then spike up, and then that would be an event here, but it's not. It's picking this up after. So this is a natural awakening, or awakening from some other reason that's not breathing related, and then this is just being marked erroneously. Take a look at this other one. So same kind of thing. Actually, right in this area here, if I had oximetry on, I would actually feel fairly confident saying that that could be something, with one exception. Like, this is how a hypopnea would manifest, but this would be the hypopnea, not over here. The one thing that is making me think that it's not a hypopnea is if you look down, you can see that the leak rate is pretty high in this area. It increased, and then right down here it decreased, and it looks like I woke up from that. So for that reason alone, I would throw out this hypopnea as being related to some kind of a leaking problem. Not that it didn't happen, and not that I didn't wake up, but it wasn't like an apnea. I would need to control for that mouth leak. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm trying to line it up, the leak rate, and I'm trying to line it up with what's occurring right here, and making sure all that's as matching as well as possible. Let's take a look at the one clear airway. This is what more people freak out about. Same kind of thing. I'm breathing here just fine. I actually woke up, looks like right here, and I'm just settling. So if you see a string of central apneas in a row, or you see them with a waxing and waiting pattern that kind of looks like a bunch of footballs lined up, then that's a true central apnea. But stuff like this, just little one-offs, don't even worry about it. Let's take a look at another day just to see what we can see. So this is you can tell right here, this is a runaway leak at the end of the night. And I remember this was a short night. I just gave up on it because for other reasons I'll mention later. Let's take a look at this day on the 23rd. Looks like, so this looks actually like some pretty legitimate hypopneas going on here. My guess though is that this is REM sleep, just because of the way it looks. It kind of looks like REM sleep when it starts doing that. So again, they probably wouldn't actually be counting as a hypopnea unless there was a oxygen desaturation associated with them. Which brings me to this one other point, is oximetry is compatible with this. If you have any of these devices here, you can also import their information into the Oscar data, and you can actually look at it. It'll bring up an oximetry window here, and it's actually really cool. So just know that that's something else that you can do. On the left-hand sidebar here, you can scroll down. You can see what was I doing on this night, what mode, what pressure did I have, was the EPR on or off, what kind of mask was I using. Then you can also look here and see how many hours you used it on that night. So let's see what I used it last night. So yeah, 6 hours and 46 minutes. Pretty good night. So if you have any questions or problems about any of this stuff, you can look at my website, axgsleepdiagnostics.com. I do one-on-one sessions with people over the phone. I log in, look at your data, and I can help you out that way. Okay, hopefully that helped. If you have specific questions and you want a personal CPAP therapy data analysis, check my website, axgsleepdiagnostics.com. But try it on your own first, because often it's a lot easier than you think. But sometimes people get stuck and they want another set of eyes on it. All right, check out my next video, which is 8, and it is all about cleaning of your CPAP equipment. Thank you to anyone watching this video, but an extra special thank you to my top-level Patreon supporters. Thanks, buddy, to Ken Spackman, Alan Liu, Matthew Gray, Stuart Hetherington, and Mona Swearingen. Thank you, and thanks, buddy.
Wolf McTavish always uses the affiliate link